We got the roof fitted out. This is the Ford Transit extended chassis. We got our fans, our air conditioners, our solar. We're good to go now. The roof rack. This is a Flatliner roof rack. Very, very well made. Very good product, good customer service, happy people to deal with. Great. I have an issue. The problem I had is the way I like to configure a van roof is with two MaxAir fans, one at each end of the van, as far apart from each other as possible. And that way you can exchange the air in the van several times a minute. You can put one on exhaust, one on intake, then you can reverse it if you're sleeping, however you want to set them up. Very effective, very effective. And then I put a big air conditioner on the roof as well. And I'm still a proponent of the 120 volt air conditioners. They are tried and true. Some of the DC air conditioners have been around for a while. I've been looking at all of them. My only concern, like anything else, is the service network across the country. If it breaks down, when it breaks down, can you get parts? Can you get it fixed? Do you know how to fix it? These guys, these tried and true blue chip companies that are putting these air conditioners out now for 2 decades and constantly improving them, you know, with consumption and everything else. This Coleman, for instance, this is a Coleman NDQ. I put them on my last 2 builds. And now I've got the Coleman NDQ. It comes with soft start built in. That's a very good feature. That is the single biggest issue with running these 120 volt air conditioners through the inverter is that initial surge. So now it ramps up quietly and slowly. I want a heat pump as well. I cannot find a Coleman NDQ with a heat pump and soft start. So if any of you know where I can find one, I would grab them. I would grab a few of them and put them on the shelf. Oh, that was a big tangent. Now we're back on the roof. I like to have the fans, the air conditioner. I've got 4 solar panels up here, 4 100-watt solar panels. On my other builds, the ProMaster and the Sprinter, I was able to get 6 panels, 600 watts. On the Ford roof with the extended chassis, I can only get 4. A lot of that has to do with that dive that this roof takes up front. It's a very long, steep dive. It starts much further back than the other vans. So I'm losing a whole solar panel on this shebangy here. Anyway, solar panel, fan, solar panel. It doesn't fit inside this rack. Thankfully, the mounting holes on these side rails are slotted. The foot and the rail slotted. So I was able to loosen them and pull them out as far as I possibly could within their mounting and screw them back down. Of course, now I can't use their crossbars because they're falling short, because I was able to get another inch out of this rack as I stretched it. So I had to make a 1-inch spacer, an extension spacer for each of the crossbars. I gained the room I needed to fit my fan and my 2 solar panels. These are Renogy panels. I like their efficiency, and I like the fact that they're only 20 inches wide, a little over 20 inches wide for a 100-watt panel. We just made it. We just made it up here. The MaxAir fan goes up and down. It does not touch, but it was a hell of a job to get this to work. The other issue I had is with the Fiamma awning. This is a wall-mounted awning. Typically, the manufacturers that make the vans like Winnebago and Pleasureway and everybody, they mount the roof-mounted awnings. So the brackets mount right to the roof of the van, lock them in, and that's where the awning sits. This is a wall-mounted awning. It's usually mounted on the side of a Class A van, a Class A camper on the outside wall. And something you need to know about that, when you buy these Fiammas, they intend for this to be mounted on the side of a Class A. So your inner mounting bolts and your plates are all zinc. They're not stainless. So you need to be aware of that if you're going to mount it out here on the roof on a rack. You need to get stainless hardware. But this awning is mounted quite a bit inboard and very low to the top of the roof, the way this rack is designed. And it was a problem. We had to do a lot of the assembly of the brackets out on the table and then bring it up and put the carriage bolts through the holes. We made it work. I'm going to see if I can't speak to Flatline, the people that make this rack, and see if it's possible to get this made wider. You may have to alter the foot a little bit. The other thing that I would want to do is I would want to buy the feet, the mounting feet, and then I would just make my own rack from 80/20 like I've been doing. Any way that you want to configure this rack from Flatliner, or any way they're going to offer a configuration, it's a good bet. It's a very well-made product. But like I said, for me, it was very difficult because what I want to get up here, and it's important. These are deal breakers. You need the 2 fans. You need as much solar as you can get. Finally, I'm getting to these fans. I had to let these mounts cure. The 3M adhesive we use on these floor mounts. Had to let it cure for a week. 2 separate applications, 2 weeks of curing time. And now we're finally at that point where I can put these fans in place and then the solar panels. Now, what I don't like in this particular case, in order to do any work on the fan in a future date, I have to remove a solar panel to get at these side screws. I'm not keen on that, but it is what it is. It's not terrible. Take 4 screws out of the solar panel, move it aside, and then I can get at the fan. It's not terrible. That brings me to a story. Sam sent me a text the other day. He spent a few glorious weeks out in the desert in the van. He actually had Born Free out there with him. The gal that bought Born Free, she made her way from New Jersey all the way out to Arizona and spent a few days out in the desert with Sam and Sharon. Pretty cool. But Sam sent me a text. He said, there's something weird going on with the water pump. Then he comes back at me and he says, I went inside the water tank. I opened the hatch, right? The inspection hatch we put in, and he stuck his camera in there to look around. And sure enough, the check valve, the brass check valve that I put on the bottom of the pickup hose that goes up to the water pump, that check valve had come out of the hose, which I cannot believe. I had that check valve screwed onto a brass barbed fitting. And you know what it's like to get those barbed fittings onto a hose, right? Tough. It's hard to get it on there. I said, this is never going to come out. We don't need a stainless steel hose clamp. Pushed it in there. Yeah, it's never coming out. Finished the job. Well, it came out. That hose barb, I guess because it's so heavy, it does double duty. That whole fitting assembly that I made, it's a check valve to keep water in the pickup tube, but it also, that weight is meant to be there to keep the hose down at the bottom of the tank so you can pick up as much water as possible out of the tank. So the check valve drops off the hose, right? Sam, he unscrews his water pump. He disconnects one side of it to the pickup tube, the inlet side. He pulls the elbow off, lays the pump on the back of the water tank, and he gets in there. He retrieves the check valve with a wire hanger, and he gets all his work done. He puts it back in. He puts a stainless steel clamp on, back in, all done through the 8-inch inspection hatch. And Sam is in the garage reaching onto that utility shelf to do this job. He's not 35 years old anymore, but Sam's a very capable guy. He's very capable. He can do just about anything. So he got this done. I'm not surprised. I'm impressed, but I'm not surprised. So the reason for this story, what's the moral of the story? Build for the failure. When something occurs, something bad, and you've got to fix it because you know it's going to occur, it wasn't that bad a deal. Did I feel bad that he had to do that? Yes, of course. I wish I was out there, and I wish it was me that made the fix for him. At least the back half of my philosophy worked, and it wasn't that big a job. He was in and out in an hour, sent me some text messages that he had it done, success, he was happy. We all went on our way. The second Mini-Me floor is in and looking very rustic and warm. A nice contrast to the mini replica of van number 1 sitting next door. This week we also designed a wind deflector for the Mini-Me's. a few cardboard prints, and then a final temporary print in PVC, which is what you see here. The finals will be printed in 1/4-inch acrylic. The big Ford vans will also be sporting custom-made wind deflectors. The 54-inch glides for Stephanie's sliding bike tray came in, and the tray design will begin next week. That sliding tray will hold more than just a bicycle. Stay tuned for that. The dinette seats are reminiscent of Mr. and Mrs. Sprinter's van. A very useful design then proves to be an asset here in Lightfoot. The rear seat, with a flip-up top, will house the Webasto cabin heater and also act as a pass-through for the 4-aught battery cables on their way to the BMS. The forward seat will house a slide-out C-head composting toilet.